who sketches little doodles of monsters and whatnot gets bullied, and they steal the pages from his doodle book and scatter them throughout the city. He gets a magical paintbrush that allows him to draw these very same doodles on the sides of buildings, and they come to life. They're neon, they're very cool looking, they perform different puzzle-oriented tasks that allow you to get through the city, and I'll tell you, describing it doesn't sound as cool as looking at it. A big plus, the creative director said it is heavily inspired by Jet Set Radio. It obviously looks a little bit slower, but I could see what they're getting at. That's probably going to hit sometime in the spring. Number 35 is God Eater 3, new action RPG in the series. It takes place after a huge disaster that basically makes a full area of the world bad. You might suspect that that's where the game takes place, you'd be right. And cool enough, God Eater 3 is adding dual wielding, which is something that they haven't had in that series. It is hitting the PS4 and PC on February 8th. Number 34 is The Surge 2, the popular technology-oriented Souls-like that answers the question, what if Dark Souls is sci-fi? I'm good with the answer. The Surge is a quite good game, and the developer said they were holding back. This one is the one they've kind of been allowed to spend a little more money on, and they're quite excited about the result. I am as well. The Surge is a great game. If it's actually scaled up, it's going to be better. It's coming to, of course, PS4 and Xbox and PC sometime this year. Number 33 is Psychonauts 2, the continuation of the original story, which casts some doubt on the Psychonauts organization while at HQ. It promises to be an interesting story that picks up where the original game left off in 2005. Aside from the PS4, we'll be seeing it on Xbox One and PC sometime this year. Number 32 is Trials Rising, or as I like to call it, Extreme Excitebike. I'm always going to make that reference. Trials is, of course, a game that I rather like. It's a somewhat silly, course-based motorcycle racing game that has been around quite a while and somehow doesn't get boring. Been a little while since the last one. I'm excited for this one. I'll probably play every Trials game for no real good reason other than that they're good. Hitting PS4, of course, Xbox One, PC, and Switch. Number 31 is Dauntless, which is kind of like Monster Hunter combined with Dark Souls and a little bit of Destiny. There's some persistent interactions that they compare to Destiny, and I think that that's a great idea for something like Monster Hunter. But on top of that, it's got a somewhat of a Disney look to the actual game itself, which is very interesting considering how many games go for somewhat of a realistic approach. I think Dauntless looks pretty awesome. It's a great first release for Phoenix Labs. It's obviously coming to PlayStation 4, but you'll also be able to pick it up on Windows, Switch, and Xbox One in April. Number 30 is Medieval, a game that puts you in control of Sir Dan. Older gamers will of course recognize this way back from 1998. It's been about 20 years, a little longer actually, since the original came out, and it has been in need of a full-blown remaster / remake for a while. The game, with a unique look, great music, and awesome dark humor, is coming to the PS4 exclusively sometime this year. Number 29 is Tropico 6, which was recently delayed until March. We don't have an exact date, but Tropico is kind of a city builder, kind of a management simulation, kind of like funnier, weirder Civilization in some ways. I kind of think it's its own thing. I like Tropico a lot, so I try not to characterize it too specifically as adjacent to other games. You take the role of the leader of a Caribbean nation. You go through several eras, and you build it up into a burgeoning, productive country, or you can be a dictator if you want. Like I said, that is going to be hitting in March. It's hitting PlayStation 4, of course, as well as Xbox One. Number 28 is Journey to the Savage Planet, a game that was made by veterans from the Far Cry and Assassin's Creed games that came together to form a new studio, where they intend to do a first-person adventure game with survival elements that takes place on a, you guessed it, Savage Planet. They regard it as a passion project, and it looks like it's going to inject a fair amount of humor into the concept of an open-world survival / action game. I think it looks pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to it. In addition to PS4, it'll be out on Xbox One and PC, and it's coming sometime this year. Number 27 is Dragon Quest Builders 2, which apparently takes a couple of pages out of Breath of the Wild and adds them to the Dragon Quest Builders formula. Now, where Dragon Quest Builders built on Dragon Quest Builders 2 built builds on Dragon Quest II. Honestly, the sort of combination of Minecraft ideas with kind of a Breath of the Wild type open world, open-ended adventure that still has a story and takes builders, which is kind of Zelda-esque itself, into the next level of Zelda, per se, sounds very interesting to me. And although I can't speak Japanese and therefore haven't tried the Japanese version, which was out in December, I am looking forward to the American version, which will hit both the PS4 and Switch sometime this year. Number 26 is Dirt Rally 2.0, which is the follow-up to the 2015 game that frankly is just a rally car truck. The physics in Dirt Rally were just phenomenal, and the game was rightfully praised for a lot of its realistic elements. 2.0 promises to bring us a lot more realism in the form of different types of damage modeling, including degradation of surfaces that you could pass over multiple times. I think it's a great idea, honestly. Dirt Rally 2.0 will hit PS4 as well as Xbox One and Windows on February 26th. Number 25 is Team Sonic Racing, a kart racing game that intentionally works itself towards the idea of, well, team racing with Sonic the Hedgehog, but it'll allow you to race with a partner that you can actually perform things like slingshot dashes, various other team-oriented powers and moves, and honestly, it looks like a fun game. It was apparently born out of Izuka wanting a Sonic racing game he could play with his kids, and that sounds fun. It's coming to PS4 as well as Xbox One, Switch, and Windows on May 21st. Number 24 is Left Alive, an upcoming third-person shooter set in the Front Mission universe, which Front Mission is actually a pretty long-running series. However, this does something cool, including the art and inspiring the world on the art of the artist that did the Metal Gear Solid art. We've seen gameplay of this, and it's pretty cool looking. The shooting looks tactical, there's stealth involved, and then there's also piloting giant robots and blowing stuff up. I think it looks great. Number 23 is Wolfenstein Youngblood, which will be a co-op game starring BJ Blazkowicz's 1980s Nazi-infested hell. Frankly, everything that Wolfenstein Youngblood seems to be, which is possibly alternate timeline stuff, possibly not. We don't know 100%. Sounds great. Looks great, and it's hitting the PS4, of course, as well as Xbox One, PC, and Switch sometime this year. Number 22 is Code Vein, which we can essentially call anime Dark Souls with vampire stuff, right? I think that sounds like a pretty good description of what we're looking at here. It's grim, it's apocalyptic. We don't know exactly how it handles yet, but frankly, it is a pretty game, and knowing it's kind of trying to be an over-the-top Dark Souls, I'm there for it. Code Vein is hitting PS4 as well as Xbox One and PC sometime this year. Number 21 is Resident Evil 2, a remake of one of the seminal games of all time, with modern gameplay conventions incorporated, including much more cinematic visuals, a control scheme that looks like a modern game, and voice actors that seem as though they might not be very hammy. I know that's a low standard, but